You know, we did it again. We decided to let you, the viewers, decide the ingredients Randy had to work with for today's daily dish, and you did not disappoint. Oh, Randy, we made it tough for you today. You were charged with making a meal out of what the viewers picked, so let's see what the Instagram poll results were. When asked to choose between steak, portobello, mushroom, viewers were united with 71% wanting steak. Okay, a good start. Next was couscous or new potatoes. People know what they like, with potatoes winning with 81%. Seared or slow roasted was up next, and the audience was 69% in favor of taking it slow. When asked whether they wanted to eat this meal with a spoon or a fork, they're my people. 79% chose fork. Spicy or sweet results were close, with sweet squeaking in at 52%. And we thought we'd make it interesting with panko or port. Every single person said panko. And last but not least, we asked you to choose between dates and tomatillos, and this one was close, with dates winning by only 8%. Okay, this is interesting. So with all of that, Randy, you're going to make red wine beef short ribs. Yes, you are. So here's a look at what you'll need for this recipe. Everyone take a peek at that. Gather all your goodies. Okay, Randy, how do we begin? You're such a genius. I love the thought of this already. You haven't even started yet.
You know, I kind of like being told what to do once in a while, Tracy. I'm not that bossy in real life. Everyone thinks I am, but it's nice to just kind of have these obstacles in your way and you kind of just check them off down the box. And whenever I think of slow roasting, like going slow, I think of the beef short rib, because it's just that thing that's just got the bone through it and it's just going to melt away and it's got all the fat and it's just, it's one of those keepers. And this is the perfect time of year to do it because we aren't going to be doing this throughout the summer. So this is the last kind of chance. So what we need to do first is go heavy with the kosher salt and black pepper. And Tracy, always with your meat, room temperature. Even when you're doing steaks, you're doing anything, make sure you bring it out of the fridge like 20 or 30 minutes ahead of time. Room temperature is best because when we hit it with the pan, it's not going to be such a shock. It's not going to be cold hitting hot. It's going to be kind of like room temperature going into hot. So here we go. We salted that thing heavy. Don't worry, that's kosher salt, so it's not going to get too aggressive. And then a little bit of pepper on there. And I've got a cast iron pan, and yes, I'm even going to use olive oil. So a little olive oil goes into this pan here, Trace. You know it's good when it starts smoking, it's dancing in the pan like that. And then we're just gonna hit it fat side down. Whenever we're doing something slow and low, we always wanna have some kind of acidity come along. We wanna have some, you know, in culinary school they talk about mirepoix a lot. So that's like carrot, celery, onion. I've added some garlic. So that's kind of like, I call that the backup singers, where the beef is the star. And so this is kind of typical, and this really isn't a big deal, but we can kind of toss this in just to sweat it off as we're searing. And that's kind of okay. All little brothers and sisters there. Now keep in mind, I'm not going to strain this out, so I've cut them up perfectly because I'm going to kind of use that as a garnish later on. So we're already thinking about the end of the dish. Now let's talk about all the flavors in here. We've got some vinegar, which is going to give us some sharpness, right? And then we've got some stock, which is going to give us some body. And Tracy, any excuse to open a bottle of wine, if you know what I mean.
A little bit for the recipe, a little bit for your glass.
You got it. I mean, the recipe only calls for 1 cup, and I don't know about you, but I don't have any of those pieces in my kitchen to put in the wine when they're open. So you got to finish it off once it's open, right?
It's what you got to do, or it's just a waste.
Right? So we take a look at our beef rib now. We're getting a nice sear in there in the cast iron, and that's what we're looking for, is that color on the bottom. And what that's going to do as well is create not only a bit of a crust, but it's going to intensify the flavor. So now that the pan's getting kind of hot and the veggies are going somewhere, this is the really important part. We're going to take our red wine vinegar. Can you hear that?
Yeah.
And take a look inside. You'll see that's evaporating quite quickly, and that's exactly what we're after. Because it is sharp, it's going to be really sharp if we don't reduce it down, but as we reduce it, it's actually going to collect some body and not be so sharp. Then, a little bit of cab, once that's reduced by half. And we want to do the same for the red wine. That's just going to come down a little bit further as well. So, you know what? When we're cooking in kitchens, we have demi-glazes and other sauces to get everything thick, and I don't like using flour, so I thought if we could add some dates in natural fiber, natural sweetness, and we just dice them up like this, and these don't have pits in them. They're fantastic. I mean, they always go in the kids' lunch, but just like this, and I just dice them up, and what's going to happen is we're going to fold those into the sauce, and as this sauce braises over 2 hours, it's actually going to thicken the sauce. So that's going to come down, and then we're just going to cover it with a little bit of stock. Now that the wine's reduced by half. And it's just, doesn't that look glorious? It's just sitting in there. It looks like it's in its own little hot tub, right?
And if you don't want to use red wine, what would you use to replace it?
Oh, these are such good questions, Tracy. Absolutely always use red wine. Never use a wine that you wouldn't drink. I don't use cooking wine in the kitchen. We use wine that we would pour at the bar. In my house, it's even more important. If I'm doing something like this, I want something big. So this is an old vine Zinfandel. So it's got lots of tannins, lots of flavor. I always want a big wine because I want big flavors. We're just gonna cover this. We're gonna leave this alone for 2 hours as it simmers, and we will come back later on and finish this dish, and it will be magical.
So next up, chef, you've got to use panko and new potatoes. So you are making a new potato crunch. I don't know what that is, but it sounds amazing. So for those of you at home, have a look at what you'll need for this recipe so you can follow along. There it is. Okay, Randy, have at it. How do we make this one?
Are you ready for this? Kartoffelchen. I think I pronounced that right. This is German. This is for little potato. And this is a celebration of the new potato season, which is coming at us shortly. You know, Tracy, for the last little while, I've been trying to hone all my cooks in at the restaurant and tell them to stop mucking about and making like all this stuff on top of stuff and just keep it simple, and that's exactly what we're doing. So we just boiled these new potatoes until they're super soft with a little bit of salt water. We're not gonna crush them or anything. We did olive oil and butter here. You can see it's just starting to foam up, and now the panko breadcrumb goes in. Oh boy. We're just gonna toast that off, and as they roll around in the foamy hot butter, the panko is gonna grab them and hold on and hug them a little bit, and it's just gonna be the most beautiful thing in the world because you have this crispiness potato on the outside and this soft, lovely, brand new potato on the inside. Then we take some parsley, chop it up, not too fine, and in this ingredient, Tracy, parsley is not a garnish, it is an ingredient. So it goes in, and you can hear it just kind of snapping away. Oh boy. Oh, there it is. There's the snap, crackle, and pop. That's what we're after. So simple, so delicious, and the celebration of the new spring season getting through this terrible winter. Look at this. Wow. So, I know, I'm kind of excited to try these. How much more time I need to get off camera and get into this thing? We just need a few of those stacked up, nothing too fancy, right? And then I've got some Brussels sprout leaves, just kind of with butter, and they're just gonna go on the side right here. And now, Tracy, we were talking earlier about our last dish, the red wine braised beef short rib. Are you ready for this?
I'm so ready for this.
So what we're gonna do is we're gonna just, me too. Stack this up on the Brussels sprouts like that. And you remember I kind of said the garnish was going to be cut all uniform and the dates were going to give it this thick gravy? Check this out. It's just going to go over like that.
Chef, it looks amazing. Thank you.
Yes.
He wants me to go to commercial break so he can eat those potatoes. That's what he wants. So that recipe is, as always, up on our website. That is cityline.tv.